TIFU by hooking up with professor's daughter. I am a typical university student just trying to get through finals week. Tonight, after a very stressful day of exams and studying for my ancient literature class, I decided to casually scroll Tinder. It had been a while and I just needed to de-stress. Little did I know, this would cause me more stress than I could have possibly imagined. I swiped right on a girl who was less than a mile away. She was 25, a little older than me, but she was super hot and she seemed into me, so I went with it. She invited me over to her apartment, and she said that she had to go in 20 minutes, so make it fast. Needless to say, we got straight to business, but about 3 minutes after we began, we heard the front door open. She told me to stop, so I stopped and we listened. The footsteps came in our direction and I got pretty scared. I expect it would be like when my parents caught me a few years ago with my ex, and it would be embarrassment all around. Not at all. The ancient literature professor, who I absolutely despise, and whose test he was frantically studying for, walked into the room and froze. He saw her, gasped, and then saw my face. His face turned red, and he screamed, "Get the UCK out of my house." I'm pretty sure I lost some of my hearing from how loud he yelled. Anyways, I put my shorts on and ran back to my quad. Now, Asi lay in bed. All I can think of is how my college professor saw me naked, not just naked but raw dogging his daughter without any clothes at all. He already didn't like me, and he is a very tough grader. So I already know that I am going to absolutely bomb this final and destroy my GPA. I see him tomorrow at 11 a.m. Wish me luck and I'll update with what happens. TLDR. Professor I hate caught me with his daughter and I have his final tomorrow. TIFU by spraying cologne on my husband's shirt. My husband is away on business for the first time ever. This is a big step in his career and I'm very excited for him. However, I did not sleep well at all the first night he was away. The next day, I decided to do the brilliant thing and take one of his shirts, spray it with his cologne so that it would smell like him, and put his shirt on his pillow. Think Marsh Pillow from How I Met Your Mother, only this was pillow then. It was starting to work its charm. Perhaps a little too well. I began to feel the desire sleep while cuddling pillow then, only to then be disrupted by an overwhelming sense of horniness. And that's when it clicked for me. He only wears this cologne when we go out, and those nights usually end with us creating the beast with two backs. So on top of lying awake due to not having him next to me, I am now dealing with actual frustration that comes with the sensory association of his cologne. TLDR. I realized I had been Pavloved by my husband's cologne when making a cuddle pillow that smells like him. Edit. I'm getting this question a lot, so I'm gonna answer here. The cologne is called Army Sport. It's nothing fancy at all, but I like the smell of it. We got it at a bargain store years ago. If you want to Pavlov your partner like he did, just find a fragrance your partner likes, and wear it before sexy time. After a while, it will have the same effect. Edit. For everyone saying, just masturbate, masturbating only works 50% of the time for me. For me, sex is an intimate thing. Usually when I'm frustrated, it's because I crave human touch. No hope that clears things up. TIFU by telling my students where I like to eat chicken wings. So I, 25F, am a high school teacher. One kid today decided to put a poll on my whiteboard. Chicken wings or burgers? This poll went unnoticed by most of my classes until I got to my chaotic one. They're really into this poll, asking everyone as they walk in what they're going to vote on. One student, C, starts going on about how Wingstop has the best wings and he loves eating there. Without thinking, I blurred out, "No, I think Hooters has the best wings." C thought this was absolutely hilarious. He got the attention of another student, K, and they were yelling about it across the room. K speaks up and says, "Miss, you can tell us why you really like Hooters. It's okay. There are no closets in this room." My face felt so hot and I was so embarrassed when HE said that, but at the same time I thought it was fucking hilarious. Especially because I am bisexual and am not open about it at work. TLDR, I told my students that Hooters has the best wings and now they all think I'm secretly gay. TIFU by peeing a guy's bed. TIFU by peeing a guy's bed. To say I am mortified is an understatement. I met up with a guy the first went toes with last night who moved to my city. I haven't seen him in probably 10 years and went to a happy hour before meeting up with him. We are both somewhat newly single and were flirting all night. Ending up getting way too drunk, going back to his apartment, hooking up and passing out naked. I then peed the bed. I want to cry and could not be more mortified. This has happened to me before from drinking but not in years. Thankfully the guy was really nice about it and said this has happened to him before. I offered to give him money for new sheets or dry cleaning but he insisted it was fine and said, just buy me a drink, how about that? I just want to crawl into a hole and never come out. And #X200B, TLDR. Got too drunk and peed in bed of a guy I haven't seen in 10 years. TIFU by kissing my dead grandma on the forehead. TIFU by kissing my dead grandma on the forehead. I, 41F, was fortunate enough to spend the majority of the last 2 weeks with my dying grandma, 89F, who has been in the late stages of dementia. My mom, 71F, had brought her to the family house as he was growing concerned about grandma's care at the nursing home. Mom is a bit of a holistic sort of lady and was hoping a diet of good food and a lot of beet, carrot, green juice might perk grandma up. I hate that grandma's last foods were carrot, beet, spinach juice. I'd probably refuse to drink that too. My sister, 43, former paramedic, had kept a very close eye on her and spent the week helping feed, change, and keep grandma as comfortable as possible. Her body was very frail and only around 90 pounds at the end. She especially became concerned last Saturday as grandma was having increased difficulty swallowing and had been refusing food, juice, water. Aspiration is a very real concern, as is pneumonia from aspirating. After an ER visit and hospital stay, lab work, CT scans, and swallowing tests, the doctors recommended hospice care. Our family was lucky enough to have my grandma comfortably set up in the great room of my mom's home. We had 5 generations of women with her at the end. Her daughter, my mom, 4 granddaughters, myself included, 3 great-granddaughters, and 1 great-great-great-granddaughter. How cool is that? What folks don't tell you as a death watch is pretty ucked up. You sit there counting respirations, checking blood oxygen levels and just waiting. My grandma's last words were on Thursday when she was cursing out my step-sibling that had gotten up in her face shouting, "I love you. I love you." But that is another story for another time. She left shortly after. By Friday afternoon, grandma had been completely unconscious for over 24 hours. Her respirations were slowing, blood oxygen levels were below 80. My grandpa, 83M, had come to say his last goodbyes and hit was getting real. By the early evening, she was breathing was quick and shallow as her oxygen levels continued to fall and her pulse increased as her body tried to compensate. We held her hand and waited for the inevitable. It hits nighttime and we are all sharing our favorite stories about grandma. My oldest sister had the best stories. It was so cool to hear more about my grandma's early life. She was a feisty piece of work. A roller derby playing, pot smoking, growing, would hide a body for you, Puerto Rican beauty. Heck, I remember quite vividly how she used a machete as a tool of all trades in the garden and told me she used it for therapy when she was whacking out roots. She would imagine people who had pissed her off or hurt the people she loved and just go all in. Anyway, at 9:17 p.m. she takes her last breath. It was pretty dramatic, to be honest. Not some soft last exhale, but this drawn-in craziness with a gurgling exhale. It was something you'd see in a movie. Had the rest not happened, I would call it borderline traumatic. Of course, people are crying and understandably upset. My RN sister checks all of her vitals and confirms she's gone. At this point, I wasn't crying. It was kind of strange to just watch this happen. It didn't feel real. After a minute, my RN sister is calling hospice to let them know she has passed and I decided that I should go ahead and say my final goodbyes to grandma. I lean down and gently stroke her hair, then tenderly give her a sweet last kiss in her forehead and whisper, "I love you, grandma." This was it. She was gone. No more suffering. She was at peace. Suddenly she breathes in with a breath you hear from folks who just had undergone CPR after drowning. Or maybe the sound of someone who had led too much pot, had been coughing, and the NWAS catching their breath? I don't know, but it was loud, it was quick, and it scared the hit out of me. Y'all need to know that I'm a huge chicken, okay? I don't watch scary movies or even movies that are resort of intense, and I only will watch those during daylight hours. I detest jump scares. At this point, I'm convinced that grandma was trying to take me with her by causing me to have a fright-induced massive heart attack. She tried to scare me to death. The good news is this gets the rest of the family laughing. You know, the stress-induced slight hysteria laughter. It was that. I start sobbing, a full-on ugly cry. It was just a lot of emotion, and that was the tipping point for me. An hour passes and Grandma is still breathing, still low oxygen but hanging in there. At the 10 o'clock hour, as we all wait around her, she takes her last breath and softly exhales. It's much more peaceful this time around. Cue in the waterworks of everyone, except for me. I've decided that I don't buy it. This time we have the nurse sister double and triple check her vitals. She's gone. Nurse sister calls hospice again. In my mind, I'm still thinking, fool me once, shame on me. Fool 'em twice. I almost said it, but kept it to myself. Then, after a few minutes, she starts to breathe and regains a heartbeat. She had the opportunity to UCK with the rest of them, and did. I'm convinced at this point that she is just a spirit in the room laughing at all of us. Cue in 11 p.m. of the death watch. I'm exhausted. Everyone is. We are emotionally drained and just spent. I reluctantly go to sleep. I'd been UP since 4:30 a.m., only to be awakened by my paramedic sister telling me that Grandma had passed at 11:30 p.m. just as the rest of the group was about to leave for the night. It was 11:47 p.m. when she woke me up. She tells me she waited a good 15 minutes just in case. I know it is not supposed to be funny, but it is kind of hilarious at the same time. I don't know. So this third go-round and all the tears are spent and we just sort of stand there quietly mourning while also wondering WTF happened over the last 3 hours. TLDR. My grandma died. I kissed her on the forehead and she jump-scared me as she came back to life only to die again an hour later and come back to life again, then die for real and horror after that.